Hey Armanti, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. We're here at Price Lake, and just you taking the time to come out and talk with us about not only your career, what you've lived as an Appalachian State Mountaineer, but now what you're doing as a husband and father post football, and it means a lot to me. I know with us and House United, our vision is to create a community of fully engaged fans, and we just love you being a part of this and helping us engage with you and learn more about you. So when you first came to App, just so everyone remembers, or you could let people know, what was it like? How did you learn about Appalachian State, and what was it about the university made you want to come up here?
And I really give that credit to my high school coach, Shell Dula, and my offense coordinator, Chris Liner, at the time. Because when I was playing there, Chris Liner, my offense coordinator, he handled all the recruiting aspects for every player. So It was him sending out the film. It was him talking to the college coaches when they came, and it was pretty much him, telling schools either, give them an offer, a scholarship as a quarterback, or nothing. So he pretty much was that no guy for me. And Shell Dula and Coach Moore, Jerry Moore, they're kind of alike as far as like coaching style and off the field. So they both were heavy in FCA programs, bringing Christianity and just trying to instill in guys to become future men off the field. So they were alike in that aspect, but. I didn't know anything about Appalachian State. Never heard of it. Didn't know who Richie Williams was at the time.
Yeah.
But this is all beforehand when I'm in high school. And I sat down with Coach Dula and Coach Liner, and they both were like, they feel like this was the best fit for me. Especially with how we was running our offense in high school and what Appalachian State was doing at the time. So we was kind of 50-50 in high school. We'd go under I formation, but we was also spread as well. So they felt that was the best fit for me. And, I took their guidance, and that's what I chose.
So you were already comfortable hanging out in the backfield, taking the snap, rather than having to be under center all the time. That helped you flow in. Now, I know that when you came in, you and another of your teammates were actually being considered for that quarterback position. Mm-hmm. And you basically win the position, didn't know anything about Appalachian State, and yet here you are, ironically, helped put Appalachian State on the map when it comes to not only the games you're playing, but of course everyone wants to talk about the big win up in Ann Arbor. And so when you came to Boone and you visited, different than South Carolina. What was it about the area? Was there anything about the area yourself you're like, I feel at home? Or,
it definitely wasn't the area, because this was it's my first time in the mountains. So, coming up on the drive, I remember trying to figure out why my ears are popping. Well, I didn't grow up in cold weather from Greenwood, South Carolina. That's Greenville, Spartanburg area. We rarely see snow. If we're expecting ice, all schools shut down. So coming up here and it's cold, the snow, so I can definitely tell you it wasn't the area.
Yeah.
But it was the people. So Coach Moore, Coach Glenn at the time, he was recruiting the area. They came and made a house visit. So and Coach Moore, I didn't know him at the time, but he rarely talked to me. Him and my mom had a conversation for hours. So so they were talking, did things like that. But then when I got up here and met the players, Kevin Richardson, he was one of the first players I met. Hun Battershun, I met him. I remember meeting him on my recruit visit. And just meeting the guys and everybody, it just felt right. Nobody had a big ego or thought they were above anybody. They welcomed me in with open arms and didn't even know me at the time. So just made it feel at home.
So they were all just working hard, doing what they needed to do to not only give their all for Appalachian State, but just earn an education, right? And here you talking about Coach Moore spending so much time with your mom. I imagine that must have impressed you quite a bit, that he wasn't just there to talk to you. It was more about everything else around you too, family, right?
Yes, definitely. But being a young kid at the time, that's not my train of thought there. I'm just like, man, they talking for a long time. Yeah, but it did make me feel more comfortable just understanding that, hey, he didn't just come in and talk to me. He actually, him and my mom holding conversations and everything. So that's a check off the list. And then when I got here on my visit, just meeting the actual players and other coaches, everything was just checking off the list.
Yes, the reason I asked you about the family thing, talking about your mom, is documented. You talked about it. It was in that piece in the Charlotte Observer talking about your dad, and how he physically wasn't present hasn't been for some time in your life. But that said, to have someone like Coach Moore, I guess, talk about that is what it was like for you to have a figure like Coach and your teammates.
It was a blessing. Again, can't put words to it. Just having that father figure away from home, because not only my dad, I did have other male figures I looked up to, even someone who at the time I didn't know that was my cousin.
Okay.
I always thought he was my uncle. That's how much older he is. But me and his son, his younger son, we're like brothers, and that's who we was always on the same team. He was the coach in football, so he was another father figure. But now I have to leave, home. I'm in a new environment, so Coach Moore was not just the coach; he was that guy that instilled how to become men, and I just tried to live by that. And even just having personal conversations with him, the last thing he talked about was football. He would always ask, "How's my mom? How's my then girlfriend? How's our child?" We had a child my second year, so he always asked those questions. He even always asked about my dad. Still to this day, when I see him, those are the questions. He asked me about my dad and everything. So just knowing that it was bigger than football for him, that just made me feel even more comfortable.
And so I want to ask you, how is your dad? How is he doing?
I mean, he's the best he can be pertaining to the situation. I just talked to him last week, matter of fact. So, me and my wife, we're going to be able to go see him sometime soon now. He's in a different prison and further away, but they had to get some stuff updated to where, she's on the list. I had to update my information to make sure they have the correct stuff. I'm on the list, so everything is squared away, and now we get to go see him for, it's been like 4 or 5 years since I've been in Canada. So.
During your time in Canada, it created an even larger distance, but I'm glad you guys are in contact, that you're always talking to one another, that he's plugged into what's going on with your life. And but talk about football and college here at Appalachian State. You spent 4 great years. I believe you graduated like a graphic design degree, right?
Graphic arts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do anything with that?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Did do a couple of interns here at school, and I was even with Mr. Sofield. I interned with him at his line of work and did some things for him as well.
Yeah.
But as soon as I graduated and pursued the NFL career, and I didn't do anything else with it after that.
Talking with your wife, and she mentioned how you went to Charlotte, and how actually, a little known fact, that there was another pro football team that was actually looking to take you, but Carolina moved up in the slot. They draft you. What was it like, college to Charlotte?
I try to give different examples to people to try to help them understand the transition that I was going through. But the best example I know that I can give is try to learn a new language. So that's what it is. That's what it was for me, because not only am I going into a new atmosphere and going against the best players in the world, but I have to change my position and totally relearn how to play the game of football. So people think, a lot of people think, because I know how to play the game of football, then it should be an easy transition, and they don't realize each position does specific things. So what I knew as a quarterback did not pertain at all to like the feet work, catching the ball. I didn't have to catch the ball as a quarterback. I was throwing it. Feet work totally different. I didn't have to worry about getting off a jam against a defender, a defensive back. I have to learn all this as a receiver. And not only am I learning how to be a receiver and a returner, I'm doing it against the best players in the world. Everybody's getting paid to do this now. Practices are different now. There's rules to it. So we can only practice for an hour and a half in the NFL or they get fined. Okay. In college, we can practice up to 3 hours. So people don't understand when we're in college and we can rep one play 10 times. Keep repping it. In the NFL, you rep it once. Either you got it right or we're throwing it out this week. We'll try next week, put it back in the playbook. So everything is moving fast for me, and I may see this play one time, may see this defense one time, and I got to remember it and be able to react to it when I see it again. So it was a lot.
And you're talking about, again, it's professional football. Yes. So obviously one needs to know their craft, know their skills, and yeah, you're drafted as a quarterback to play in a different position. While you were fleet of foot at Appalachian State, lots of highlights of you running, shaking, making guys miss tackles. You're right, it's different. It's not the same as starting off the line as a wide receiver and having to make certain plays and using your feet in a different way. Now, you feel comfortable talking about your time at Carolina? I know
open book now. So
okay. So the reason I asked that is because I know you referred to it as dark times. Mm-hmm. It wasn't easy for you, and it wasn't just because you were making a transition from an FCS school to a professional football team. You had the skills and the talent, etc., but there were some other things going on. Mm-hmm. And don't want to get into details about that, but just talk about what it was like for you as a person, as a husband and father, to go through that time in Charlotte. What was it like for you guys as a family?
So even outside the locker room, it had me bringing my work home and didn't even realize it. So everything is not going, as you would dreamed of. This is a dream come true to be playing in the NFL. But once I get in there, I feel like I'm not receiving any kind of help. I understand I had a lot of things to learn. And as you said, it's professional. So as a professional, you have to work on your craft outside of work too and everything. But I didn't know where to start. Nobody told me like, hey, do this, do that, or start here, or go talk to this guy, he'll help you, or come to my office after practice, let's watch extra film. I didn't get any of that. And then when we get to practice, it felt like I'm just pushed to the side and stuff like that. And I was always in the dark with stuff. So I was never told, hey, you're going to be down this week, or hey, work on this, get better at this. This is what we see you can help us with, or any of that. It was like I was always shut out. And, having that kind of feeling and taking it home, it was rough. It was rough. And I'm just fortunate now that, my now wife, she stuck it out with me and stayed through it, because I will admit I did put her through a lot of rough times, and not knowing it at that time, just how angry I was and frustrated from work, it was coming and bleeding into the household.
Well, I can imagine. You're a man that cares deeply about what you were doing, and you weren't able to do what you felt like you could. And to bring that away and all the frustration, I can see that, sometimes pouring out. Now, I'm sure not all NFL organizations are like what you went through.
No, definitely not.
And the reason I'm certain of that is because there you go to Canada and you have a stellar career. You win a championship as a wide receiver, right?
Yes.
And so talk about that difference. What was it like playing ball in Canada, and even with that organization? What was that like for you?
I just felt free. I felt like I was finally given the opportunity to work through my mistakes. Unlike the NFL, if I made a mistake, I was taken out. I wasn't given that opportunity again. Or if I was given that opportunity and I didn't pan out to as quick as they wanted me to, they replaced me. But in Canada, I was able to work through my mistakes, and that was kind of a shock for me, but it also made me very relieved to know that if I ran the route incorrect or dropped the ball, hey, get back in there, let's do it again, or you're not coming out, or or it was one instance. I hate to try to jump, but it's one instance my first year in Canada where I'm coming off an injury, so I didn't have a camp, and we was having a scrimmage against the defense, and I was in, and I got real tired, and I expected coach, hey, get somebody in there, get him out. He made me stay in, stick it out. So looking back on it, like I'm grateful for that because I needed that. I wasn't given these opportunities in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So in CFL, I just felt free to work through my mistakes.
Definitely. So I'm hearing like there's a mistake-free zone in the NFL. Little forgiveness. Either you own it, you own it. If you're not, you're out.
I wouldn't say it's a little forgiveness. It's a lot of politicking that goes in. So it depends on who you were as a player. So some players were given a lot of opportunities to freely do as they pleased, and other players were one and done. So, and unfortunately, I was one of those one and done guys for them.
Gotcha. Well, I know, like I said, you did great in Canada. Now you're retired from football, and your name is up to be inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame. How does that make you feel? What was it like to learn that you were going to be on the ballot?
I would say my wife probably is more excited than me. It's like, okay, it is what it is. I'm grateful for the college career that I had, but at the same time, my dream was to, be the best I can at each and every level, and I don't feel I was there. Even in Canada, I felt I could have done more, even though I'm a part of a championship team. I'm grateful for that. Okay. But when I look back on my career, I understand I did things that still guys haven't done. But for me, stuff like that don't really excite me. But at the same time, I'm grateful to be on the ballot, just being recognized by not just Appalachian State or the teams we played against now. Now, the actual college world is recognizing, what was done on the mountain. So
yeah, I mean, there are still a lot of people that recall the games. Every now and then we'll see it on social media or whatever. What was your favorite AE moment? And they don't even have to say what is your favorite Armanti Edwards moment. Sometimes it's what's the most iconic photo, and your name, your images come up because you accomplished a lot. You and the band of brothers that you played with. So it wasn't just Armanti on the field against 11 guys. You and 10 other guys worked really, really hard to put together the winning seasons that you did. And so I think it stands on their shoulders just as much, right? Of course. You being nominated in the College Football Hall of Fame, not only on your skill and talent, but the skill and talent of K-Rich and Dexter Jackson, Hans, and all the guys, Corey Lynch and others, right? So talk about those guys. You stay in contact, everybody, getting together every now and then. What's it like for you guys now?
There's a handful of them that I'm always in contact with. Josh Jackson, James Hill, Anthony Kruger, Chase Laws, those pretty much the guys that I'm in contact with on a regular basis. But Jerome touched on, he stays in Charlotte. So we stay in contact and everything. He was actually helping me train in Carolina at one point. So, on the track. So I never ran track or anything, and he did. So he was helping me in that aspect. But yes, I stay in touch with Richie Williams. So even though we never played together, but Kevin Richardson, I keep in contact. I ran into him at a game last year. So it was fun at that time just to reminisce and everything. But yes, this is, I would like to piggyback off what you said, but, being inducted into the College Hall of Fame or all the other recognitions I've received, I always like to not only give that back to, my teammates, but the guys before me. Yep. Because there was a lot of great athletes before me, but at that time, nobody was paying attention to the smaller school. So
then y'all shocked the world, but you're right. It's not like suddenly Appalachian State's on the map because they figured something out. A lot of work by guys like Richie Williams and others that came before, and Jamal Andre Jackson, other guys that helped build up and Coach Moore with the program that he and his coaches built. Yes. It was built on a solid foundation of family, brotherhood, Christianity, and as you said, and I love this about not only the football team, but the baseball team and other programs at Appalachian State. It's about helping you all become the best men, women, future husbands, wives, fathers, and mothers one day. Do you feel that that's what it's like still, even at Appalachian State, or has been, as a real honest family type of feel?
Yeah, it's definitely family type and everything. When I get the question, that's probably why I be nonchalant about a lot of the stuff when, like the accolades and stuff, because when people outside the mountain, they ask me questions, it just got to a point where I just got restless with having to correct them, because when they mention my name, obviously, the first game that comes to their head is Michigan. Or they say, okay, we won 3 in a row. Like, yes, the school did. I wasn't a part of those 3. I was a part of 2. Yeah. So in that, and like just saying that, people still don't realize like Appalachian was good before I got there.
Oh yeah.
They were number 1 before I got there. Just when I came and the guys in my class came, we already had leaders on the field that showed us how it's supposed to be done, and we was fortunate enough to keep that train rolling.
Yeah. But it was just a path. One, I think, I'll just be honest with you, that God put the team, Coach Moore, everybody on, because nobody was expecting that Appalachian State would be playing the University of Michigan. And Coach Moore walks into the office, the staff one day, and says, guess what? We're going to Ann Arbor. And so that was just another step in that long process. So for all the work that had been done prior to that, what helped get that game against Michigan, and then every game after that. And I know people love to talk about the game in Ann Arbor, they do, but man, there have been so many fabulous games in Boone. I know the game against Richmond was fantastic. Absolutely blew those guys out during the playoffs. There's, of course, all the regular season games. Anytime we beat Georgia Southern was a fantastic time. So what are games maybe that you can recall, or times during your career that just really stand out to you that you will always take away with you?
The Halloween game, Wofford, is one of my favorites. And it's not because of, what I was able to do, but what we were able to do back to them following the previous year.
Yeah.
That left a bad taste in our mouth. Obviously, we're coming off beating Michigan, so we know we have a target on our back. We're undefeated. And not only was the game over, but at the end of the game, I don't know if people remember, they chose to score another touchdown when the game was over. Then they rushed the field with the fans. So we remember that. And now we get to play them not only Halloween, but it's a night game, and it's on ESPN too. And to do what we were able to do to them, just
to be able to do what you're putting it kind of mildly. You guys throttled them, dismantled them. It was a massacre, and it fit perfectly being on Halloween with the way the final score came out. So it was. You're right. It was fantastic to have that little pound of flesh, so to speak, to flip that on, or flip the script on Wofford.
And not to take away from what we're discussing, I would like to add in what people don't realize when they like to talk about me and my stats. But I don't know if you remember one of the games Randy Moss had. He had like 3 catches for like 160 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah. People don't realize Brian Quick did that in that game. He had 3 catches, 185 yards, 3 touchdowns.
The quick strike offense that you guys had was just unbelievable. We haven't seen that in several years now, I don't think Appalachians had that type of offense. But you and Brian, and whether it's him or Marcus Cox and the other guys on the teams, could score, it seemed like, in an instant. Was that just because of speed, or
no,
what made y'all so potent, man?
That's how we was coached.
Yeah.
That's all that credit goes to the coaches. How we played is exactly how we were coached in practice. And if we wasn't doing it right at that time, it doesn't matter if it was me, Kevin Richardson, coaches like Coach Elliott would chew you out. It doesn't matter. So how we played, that's how we practiced. And it obviously showed it. The games were easy. It was the practices What the fans weren't there to see, those were the hard ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that. They made practice so hard that when you got into the game, it's just like dress rehearsal. Then. Yeah. It's like, okay, we just rolling through it. Because I could see that. I mean, it just seemed like so easy at that time during your 4 years. You guys, whenever you wanted to, you could just decide, okay, we want to score now.
Yeah. Tuesday practices, they were called Terrible Tuesdays.
Why is that?
Because we literally ran our plays against the worst possible defense we could to see if we can get past it. So now we know if we get the worst defense in the game, we know how to defeat it.
Oh.
So Terrible Tuesdays, we went against the worst defensive formations for those particular plays.
That is fantastic. I love that mentality. So they're basically setting you up and saying, okay, the likelihood of you succeeding on this play is nil. It's almost like the opposing defensive coordinator is in our playbook and he knows exactly what he needs to call. You got to be successful.
Yep.
Man, that is awesome.
I don't know. I mean, it's not much film. I wish somebody had all the film if you can go back.
So how successful were you against those?
I don't know the statistics, but, we have some 3rd down and 10, 3rd and 8s, and we just run the ball up the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know if people understood that we just hand the ball off and get the first down.
Of course, fans are all sitting at home every time that happens. Fans are saying, why are they running up the middle?
And Kevin Richardson to get 10, 12, 15 yards, and because we had Terrible Tuesdays.
Man, so that even goes to reading plays, right? So as you're a quarterback, you're back there, you're able to see what's going on. It helps you make those reads. How much freedom did you have as a quarterback to change plays?
Me personally, I didn't change plays. We had options within plays, so that's the freedom I had. So we can have a play, I'm trying to give it, I can't remember the name of it, but we can have a play where I can hand it to the running back, I can keep it, or I can throw the string.
So that's the RPO, right?
Yes. I got 3 options. Or if a receiver have an option route where he run a 5-yard route where he can take it in, take it out, sit, or even, go deep. So it's really 4 options. I don't know if you remember, but Georgia Southern, my senior year, where I threw a quick dart to Coco Hillard. Yep. He had an option to do it as he pleased. So we had that kind of freedom within plays.
Which requires a whole lot of football intelligence.
Yes.
For you guys to be smart and know what's on the field, know how to play the game, and work within what you had in front of you.
Yes.
Right? So talking about Georgia Southern, I was actually thinking about that iconic photo, the stiff arm. Mm-hmm. What do you talk to me about that play and give some people some context behind that infamous stiff arm of you shoving that Georgia Southern player's football helmet off his head pretty much?
I can't remember, much about it. Obviously, I see it all the time, but I can't remember leading up to that play. Yeah. I remember I was very exhausted the night before because we always have a get together, just players, and we just discuss, what we need to do, or like a guy like John Holt to get up there and give us a motivational speech, get us riled up. I just remember being exhausted that night because I was so amped and ready to play them. So I don't know what led up to that play, but I just know there was a lot of stuff built up. And I want to say they my junior year, no, that was sophomore year. So I just know, we considered that one of the games that if we lose any other game, we have to beat them.
And I think that's still kind of the mentality a little bit with our dislike of Georgia Southern. And I know there's another school, remain nameless, that's trying their best to get on that level. They're being a little irritating, but that's okay. Thank you for how you give back, though, and how you are looking back not only to your time, but now student athletes. How are you involved, or are you in any way with the football program or current student athletes as a leader and mentor or anything like that going on?
Not as much as I would like to be. I'm kind of a quiet person. I've always been that way, and if I don't have to be in the spotlight, 9 times out of 10 I won't step out there on my own. But I am an open book, and with guys that do have my number or ask me questions, anything, I'm always willing to give them information. I do that, and when things like this or anybody asks me, to come up, can I do this or that? I'm always open to doing things like that. So,
and I appreciate it, and I really to help us out with House United, what we're trying to do. But you being a leader in a way as a young man for these other young men, and to even help guide them through. If there's somebody that you being open and willing to help out speaks volumes. And so I, just as an App State fan, just want to thank you for always continuing to help with the legacy of Appalachian State and keep it going, not only as a football team, but the university and student athletes.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you.